Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining me here today. We are getting towards the end of the month, March. Oops, did something just fall over? No? Okay. We're getting towards the end of the month, and this is the month of March, and it is National Nutrition Month. And the theme for National Nutrition Month this year is Savor the Taste of Eating Right. And that is the perfect time to talk about mindful eating. So today we will talk about mindful eating and how it impacts not only our enjoyment of our meal, but also our health as well. As Sonia said, I am a registered dietitian and certified diabetes educator, and I have spent many years studying all about nutrition. And one of the comments that I often hear when I talk to people about losing weight or improving their health is that they say they really like the taste of certain foods. They really like the taste of chocolate, or they really like pizza or chicken wings and things like that. And what we're going to learn today is that there are ways that you can still enjoy the taste of some of your favorite foods while still increasing or maintaining your health. So the first thing we're going to talk about with mindful eating is the idea of mindfulness. Has anyone ever participated in a class or have read anything about mindfulness before? So just a couple of you, very good. Well, when I talk about mindful eating, it's really helpful to start at the basics, and that is, what is mindfulness? So the basic definition of mindfulness has a few components. The first one is paying attention. When we are mindful, we pay attention. We pay attention to this very moment here and now. We are not dragging the past into today. We are not being overly concerned about the future. We are here in this moment right now. And when we talk about mindful eating, that's going to be very important. When we talk about mindfulness, it is an intentional act. We are paying attention on purpose. And what we learn about mindfulness is really, it is a practice. It is something that we choose to do on an ongoing basis. When we talk about mindful eating and mindful living, again, we talk about being in the present, right now, being aware of what is in front of us, as well as being in the present with our current degree of hunger or satiety, and we'll be talking about that in a few moments. And that leads into the idea of observing the moment. When we observe this moment, it is different than the moment before, and it will be different than the upcoming moment. And we interpret our actions without judgment. So many times in the different classes that we teach, when someone comes to step on the scale in one of our weight loss classes or our diabetes self-management or diabetes prevention, sometimes we call it the confession, because they'll come and they'll step on the scale and they'll say, oh, it was a really bad week for me. And they'll say things like, I didn't exercise, or I overate something, and really this is a common theme. And so what I really try to encourage the individual to do is observe what led to that behavior. Why was it? Even if we had the intent to eat healthy or we had the intent to be physically active, what things led up to that got us off track there? And so when we observe the moment or the action without judgment and kind of step away from it in a non-judgmental fashion, we can make a better decision for how we will go about that event next time. So next time, if this happens, what will I do different so that I can get the response that I want and the goal of improved health that we all want? So that's kind of mindfulness in general. When we talk about mindful eating, it really is about the slowing down. How many times have we heard we need to slow down while we eat? I say in this fast-paced society, what I describe many of our eating behaviors is a chomp, chomp, swallow. Does that sound familiar to anybody? We are in a rush. Maybe we have had careers where we didn't have a lot of time for lunch, if at time at all. Maybe we had children at meals and we were rushing, or in the morning. And so a lot of us have gotten in the habit of just kind of inhaling our food, barely tasting it before we swallow it. And that's something that we want to look at. We want to be intentionally aware of our bodies while we are eating. And what that means is this. Are we eating for hunger, or are we eating for other reasons? And we're going to talk about that. So we are aware of our bodies, our hunger. We're aware of our thoughts and emotions. How many people here have ever eaten due to emotions? I can probably put 2 hands up here. Definitely, we all do this from time to time. It's part of our human nature. What we want to try to avoid, though, is having this be a consistent, ongoing type of event. We want to be aware of and bring attention to our food and drink that we are having. And when we do that, we are able to appreciate and experience and taste the food more and really delight in what we are having to eat in front of us. And then we want to really focus on the changing satiety as we eat. This is something that most people don't even think about. And this is one of the big things that I encourage people to do when they are interested in weight loss, is the idea of, do I need to continue to eat? Do I need that next bite of potato? Do I need that next bite of meat? Or do I need another cookie? What is going on in my hunger tank? What is going on in my mind? And when we do that, we can help to increase our enjoyment of the meal as well as our overall health. So this picture here is a gal, and she is eating an apple. Now, when you look at that, does it look like she's eating mindfully? Yes. Yeah. I look at that picture and I tell you, my jaw starts to almost tingle. I look at that and I think that lady right there, that apple to me, and I actually had a Granny Smith apple for lunch today, and I thought about this picture, that I just imagine biting into a cold, crisp, kind of sour apple, and she is really paying attention. She's really enjoying that apple. And that's how we want to eat. That's how we want to live, really being in the moment there with our food. Oftentimes in life, we are on that hamster wheel, and we go and we go and we go and we go. And that does not behoove our overall health and wellness. And all of you are here today because you want to improve or maintain the health that you do have. And I really applaud all of you for being here. But we are not human doings. We do not need to be doing something at every moment of the day. We are human beings, and sometimes we need to just be. Just be present, be in the moment. Take a deep breath and relax and enjoy life. So up here in the corner, we see a gentleman, and he is multitasking, and we see that he has the computer open, his laptop. He is standing up, and he is reading the newspaper, and he's trying to eat all at once. And you can see by this picture that he is pouring the orange juice into his cereal. He's not paying attention. He is probably in a rush. He probably won't even taste the food. He may overeat, and he'll get to work, and he may even have some stomach upset with that, kind of being in that go, go, go. We look at the other picture of the gal in the corner, and she looks very peaceful. She has a nice warm cup of tea there, and it looks like she's just enjoying the moment. probably smelling that nice apple tea or what have you, and she's more relaxed, and she's going to be consuming something that, again, and I'm saying tea, it could be something else, but something that's going to soothe her body and make her feel relaxed and rejuvenated. And that's really what we want. So one of the things we want to do before we eat is the idea of bringing that attention to our bodies. And this concept is not one that I came up with on my own. We have other healthcare professionals who have talked about this in the past. And on your handout that you have, we have some of those different authors on there. Michelle May, Evelyn Triboli are some of the pioneers in this whole idea of mindful eating. So what a very beneficial thing to do would be to stop and ask yourself, how is my body feeling right now? So I want to ask you at this very moment, if you can kind of take a deep breath, relax, and think about, how do I feel right now? Let me ask, is anybody hungry at this moment? Do you sense physical hunger? Okay. And so sensing that physical hunger, what does it feel like to you? An aching. Okay. When the others of you are hungry, do you ever feel like an aching in your stomach? Okay. What other signs do you sometimes have that you're hungry?
Short temper.
Short temper. She's an honest lady. I like that. Absolutely. We can be a little irritable sometimes, and that can be a sign that we maybe are hungry, that maybe we need to fuel our body. What else are some of the symptoms that you may experience when you need food? Shakiness, lightheadedness. We can just feel weak and fatigued. All of these things can indicate to us that we are low on fuel. The primary purpose of eating is what? To fuel your body. Is the primary purpose of eating for entertainment? No. Is it because there's nothing else to do? Is it boredom? No. And when some people have told me, well, I deserve to eat, this or that, or I'm treating myself to, a hot fudge sundae. If we take a step back and really analyze, after we finish that last bite, that night, the next day, the next week when we jump on our scale, do we still view that hot fudge sundae as a treat? No, we don't. And so part of this is really looking and changing our perception. And we've got to think differently. So, I think about the different individuals that I've interacted with, and I think about individuals who talk to me and they convey stories of me of change. For example, I know a wonderful female who told me that she was having a party, and instead of having a dessert, she chose to have fruit as the dessert. Now, sometimes people can say, where's the cake? Where's the cookies? Sometimes we think that other people really expect us to have these things. But you know what? We can show them a healthier way. And really, it's a treat for them to have these different healthy foods. And we can model those healthy behaviors. So we want to ask ourselves, how is my body feeling right now? That's one of the top things. And let me ask you, if you are physically hungry, what do you suppose the correct response would be at that time? Absolutely. Mildred said we need to eat. We do. If our body needs fuel, we want to honor it with that fuel. This is not about white-knuckling it, being starving and saying, no, I can't have it because I want to lose weight. This is about honoring the body with fuel that's appropriate for our bodies. So, very important. And then we go and ask ourselves, am I physically hungry? Is this physical hunger, or is it a habit? Is this a distraction? Is this a reward? What is it about this event that is leading me to eat? I often use the example of this. If we had somebody who opened the door and came in and they had this beautiful tray of freshly made pastries, and they said, you know, this is for all of you here today, and they passed it around, how many of you would take a pastry? We may all take a pastry. And the question is, only that lady back there was hungry. None of us were hungry. So, you know, see, we start to realize that, and we're like, interesting. So it is when we put fuel into our bodies, when we don't need fuel, that oftentimes our health gets out of balance. So it's at those times that we have the potential to make the biggest impact on our health and on our weight, is when we are in fact not hungry. And if we are hungry, something that's very beneficial for us to ask is the question of, how hungry am I? Because not all hunger is the same, is it? Sometimes we just need a little something to take the edge off, and sometimes we need a big, hearty meal. So we want to really ask ourselves, if I'm hungry, how hungry am I? And then the next one, I like this question. It says, what would make my body feel nourished? Let me ask you, and if you don't know, this can be an indicator to you that you may need to pay closer attention. If you think about a meal that after you eat it, you feel really good, what would that be?
Eating healthy.
Eating healthy. And give me an example of what that may be.
Fruits, nuts, and vegetables.
Fruits, nuts, and vegetables, she says. When she eats those foods, she feels good. What about anybody else? When you think of something, you say, when I eat that, I feel good. Pizza. This lady back here says when she eats pizza, she feels good. Anything else? Meat. So meat makes you feel satisfied. It makes you feel good. I always think of beans and rice. Beans and rice, it sits well, it fills me up, doesn't make me feel overly full. I feel good when I eat that. And I want you to think about those foods that will make you feel good, because we're talking about quality of life here as well. So are there any foods that when you eat, afterwards you go, ooh, I wish I wouldn't have eaten that. I don't feel too good, either physically or emotionally?
Hot fudge sundaes.
Hot fudge sundae. Yep. I've been there. I've done that and went, why did I do it? But this is the thing, is that with our idea of non-judgmental, we observe it and we go, you know what? I'm not feeling really good physically or mentally since I ate that. Next time I'm in that situation, I'm going to make a different choice. And then we can direct our paths that way. The next question that we can ask ourselves is this: how much would make my body feel good? And this is the very interesting thing. I always say that if we went to a restaurant and they gave us a portion of meat and vegetable and a starch, and they gave us a roll and they gave us salad and all these different things, would we eat more than our body needs? Yes. And yes, absolutely, sir. That's the answer. Typically, we eat more than our body needs. Now, let me ask you, the cook in the back, does he know how much you need? No. Because if the two of you ordered the same plate, you're a gentleman, you have higher needs, and you're a female. Your needs are not the same. So we have to be the gatekeepers. So when food is put in front of us, we need to ask ourselves, how much of this do I really need? Do I need to eat this whole sandwich? Do I need to eat the whole piece of lasagna? Or would my body feel better if I did something different? And again, so what it is, it's a thought process. And we start to realize that most of the time we eat in autopilot. We don't analyze. We just eat it. And that does not serve us well. So this is all about asking ourselves these series of questions. And the more that we do this, the better that we will become at eating for our body. So you all have those little handouts there, and I've had people who say that they put these up on their refrigerators or their pantry walls or someplace so that it reminds them over and over to ask themselves those questions. When we talk about bringing attention again to the thoughts and the emotions, I have a little cartoon up here, and she says she's about ready to pull her hair out, and she says, "A candy bar would make me feel better." And that's the whole idea of that hot fudge sundae. In the moment, sometimes we think it will make us feel better. But if we step back for 1 second or 2 seconds, we can realize that that really isn't the case. So ask yourself, are you being driven to eat due to that physiological hunger that we talked about, or is it due to the time of day? Is it 5 o'clock and we've always eaten at 5 o'clock? Is it boredom? Oh, nothing to do in the evening, so here I go, with the snacks. Is it stress? Let me tell you, if you are stressed and you eat, does it make it any better? No, we're usually more upset with ourselves afterwards. Sometimes we eat out of reward. I know I've done that to myself, or sometimes punishment. There are some individuals who think that really they may not deserve to be healthy. And we need to, again, be aware of the thoughts that we have. It might be due to avoidance or habit, defiance. I have had people tell me before when we sit down in individual nutrition counseling who tell me, if you tell me I can't have bacon, I'm just going to go out and eat even more. Because they have more of a defiant nature. So we have to ask ourselves, if we're someone like that, does that work for me? Is that really what I want? Environmental triggers, that's the idea of the platter of pastries, or that's the commercial, or that's when you drive by and you see the sign and it triggers you, the idea that you may want to eat. What about social triggers? We have a really social group here, and I often hear people say that every time we get friends together, what do? We eat. We play cards, we eat, we get together for coffee and we eat. And do we ask ourselves if we're hungry or not? And let me ask you this, is that the individuals that I have worked with over time, they have realized this, and they will start to tell me that they have made comments, or that they have helped to change the behavior of groups like card groups, where they say, from now on, instead of having, these sweets, let's have fruit. Let's do something healthier. And the other people go, oh, that's a good idea. We should do that. But sometimes it just takes one person to do that. And each one of you in here, you have that possibility of going out and making those positive changes as well. The last thing on this list that can cause us to eat when we're not physically in need of food is the presence of food. How many people have a bowl of candy on their coffee tables or on their desks or different things? And what we learn is that promotes mindless eating. If you have nuts sitting out, you are more likely to pick it up and eat it. So what we want to do is really stop and analyze that. When we eat our food, again, it's about paying attention to the food. We want to be aware of the food. And we talk about the idea that we eat with our eyes. So we want to look at the color. We want to look at the shape. We want to be aware of the temperature, the taste, the aroma, and even the aftertaste. And that will be new for some individuals, and we'll talk about that in a moment here. When we experience the meal, number one is to slow down. Number two is to taste deeply. When we eat, where is it that the particular food that we've chosen to eat, where is it that we feel the greatest pleasure regarding that food?
The mouth.
The mouth, absolutely. So when we put it in our mouth, do we want to swallow it real quick or do we want to hold it in our mouth for longer? We want to have it in our mouth for longer. That's where we're going to taste it. So we start to realize that we need to have the food in our mouth for longer. That's where we're really going to enjoy it. And this is something that we're going to learn when we do our little mindfulness eating with the craisins there, is that it only takes a small amount for us to taste what's in our mouth. We don't need to have a huge spoonful of food to taste. We can taste with much smaller amounts. We want to observe how the food feels in our mouth and observe how each bite is unique. We want to pause frequently and evaluate your hunger or satiety level. This is something new for a lot of people. As you eat your food, you eat, and it's beneficial to put your fork down in between. Take another bite, relax and eat slowly. And ask yourself while you're eating, am I still hungry? Am I still hungry? Or am I satisfied? Or have I overeaten and now I feel full? By pausing and asking ourselves that while we're eating, it will help us to prevent overeating. But how many of us ever do that? Bless you. We never even think about it. We never think about evaluating during the meal if we need more. But I hope that after today you will do that. So knowing when enough is enough. Ask yourself while you're eating, am I still physically hungry? Is my body feeling nourished? Am I at the point of being content? Do we actually want to eat to the point of being full? No. And that's something new for a lot of people. We want to eat to the point of being content, because what happens is it will take how long for that message to get to our brain?
20 minutes.
It can take about 20 minutes. So if we eat until the point of being full, what's going to happen 5 minutes after we stop eating? What's going to happen 10 minutes? How are we going to feel 20 minutes after we stopped eating? We could be feeling overly full. So if we stop at the point of contentment, it can help to prevent us from overeating. Now, I will add here that what I'm giving is general advice. There are individuals who are underweight and they need to eat more, and so that would be an individual medical nutrition therapy. But I will tell you that this concept is often used for individuals who have eating disorders because they have lost that body-mind connection with, am I really hungry? They've vetoed it. And what we need to do is we want to be very, very aware of that. And then following the meal, again, asking ourselves, how do I feel after eating that? Do I feel great or do I feel sluggish? Okay, the benefits of mindful eating. First of all, it can help to normalize our weight. So individuals sometimes undereat because they're not aware. They can be so busy that they forget to eat. Or somebody may have an eating disorder. Or if somebody is overweight, it can help to normalize their weight. It can help to increase the mealtime satisfaction because we are slowing down and we are enjoying every single bite that we eat. It can help us to see the cause and effect of different foods. I learned just in the last few years that I have a wheat allergy. I was in denial. I didn't want to be allergic to wheat. In fact, I'm rather fond of it. But I realized that when I do eat wheat, that sometimes it doesn't agree with me. And slowing down and realizing that helps me to stay away from it. And again, it will improve our overall health and well-being in general, because we'll be asking ourselves, just like Mildred answered, the question of what would make you feel good: the nuts, the fruits, the vegetables, the proteins, that these things can help to guide us in a really positive way. Okay, now I'm going to spend a couple minutes and we're going to do a mindful eating activity. So in front of all of you, you have a little portion dish. And no, this is not my idea of a meal. We are going to be doing this eating activity, and there are 2 cranberries. One of the cranberries we are going to eat. The other one, the first one, we are going to be kind of feeling and squeezing and things like that. So I like to tell people that ahead of time. So if you look into your cup, you may say, okay, that one I want to eat. This one I want to play with. So pick up the cranberry that you want to play with in your fingers. And what we're going to do is we're going to slow down and really enjoy and be more mindful of the food that we do have here. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to look at this cranberry as if for the first time. Like we've never seen a cranberry before. So we're going to really focus in and look at it. And I invite you to look at it and observe things like color and color variation. Is it consistently one color, or are some areas darker or lighter? And what is the texture like? Is it smooth or is it bumpy? Is it shiny or is it dull? What about the shape? Is it symmetrical or asymmetrical? Is it irregular altogether? And then kind of flip it over and say, is the other side the same, or are there changes? Are there differences between that? And then I want you to take it and put it in your fingers. And then I kind of want you to press down on it a little bit and feel the texture of it. Is it hard, or is it squishy? Is it cold? Is it warm? How does it feel? Just kind of roll it around in your fingers a little bit there. And then there are many, many people who smell their food before they eat it. And so let's try that. Is there any scent to that, or not necessarily?
A little bit.
Just a little bit, but not much. And then what we'll have you do is discard that cranberry that you were just squeezing and playing with, and then you're going to pick out the other one. And now this one we are not going to eat immediately. Just so you know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you open your mouth and put it on your tongue, and we're gonna sense it in our mouth. So go ahead and do that. Put it in your mouth and kind of push it up to the roof of your mouth and feel the texture. Feel the texture on your tongue. Again, note if there's any smoothness or roughness. Take a moment and sense, is it warm? Is it cold? Is it just room temperature? And then you can even just give it a little suck and see if you can taste anything really from it. And then I want you to shift that cranberry to one side of your jaw and then just do one clench. And I want you to observe what happens to the flavor when you do that. And then you can move it back to the center of your mouth and kind of suck on it again like it was a lifesaver. and taste the flavor. And then move it to the other side of your jaw and clench down again. And then just continue to kind of taste it. Maybe feeling the texture as it starts to break apart. Maybe giving it another clench and another one. Bill's laughing at me. Give it a couple more clenches, a couple more bites. And then when you're ready, if you haven't already swallowed it, go ahead and swallow it. And then pause for a moment and bring your attention back to your mouth. And do you still taste it?
Yes.
You still taste it. Are you getting calories right now tasting it? No. Calorie free. So let me ask you, did you ever know that one tiny little cranberry had so much flavor in it? Did you ever realize that by clenching down on a food like that, that the flavor could just explode, that it could fill your whole mouth in just this much? So let me ask you, if you are going to choose to eat something that's higher in calories and fat, like a French fry, do we need to grab 3 French fries, 3 big long French fries, and stick them in our mouth and do the chomp, chomp, swallow? Or could we say, honey, could I have one of your fries? And we take it and we break it, put it in our mouth, kind of taste it, chew it, swallow it. Wait a second before we have another bite. Take another one, chew it. When we slow down and really pay attention, we enjoy the food more and we require less to get satisfaction from it. That's what it's about. It's a nice balance between health and enjoyment. And this is the thing, that even after you swallowed that small little piece, you could still continue to taste it, and you may be able to still taste a bit of it now. How many of you have ever maybe not even swallowed your fork full of food and you've already got another one loaded? We put it in our mouth, we do the chomp chomp, we shovel another one in, chomp chomp. Oh, this is so good, it's so good. But if it's so good, maybe we should take a step back, take a little bit, look at it, smell it, put it in our mouth, and really enjoy it. What do you think about that? Does that sound like something? It really does. It really is very, very helpful. So what I really am encouraging all of you to do is the idea of putting some of this into practice. Now, I've had people come up to me and say, oh my goodness, I couldn't eat my whole meal that way. And you probably couldn't. What you may want to do is just try it here and there. And the more that you do it, the more likely that you will continue to practice that. And it can be something that you can share with individuals that you eat with, and you can encourage each other to really do that. There are some tips on here that talk about ways to eat more mindfully, and they are on your handouts there as well. The first one there says, mindful eating can be extended to obtaining or preparing the food. And the idea that gratitude increases our enjoyment. So I tell the story of, I love Sprouts grocery store, and when I'm walking around in Sprouts with my little basket, I feel happy. I'm like, oh, look at me. I'm putting some chia seeds in there, and I've got my kale and my blueberries. It makes me happy. And then when I bring that food home, and I sit there and I look at it, and I know what the function of that food is. It's to give me a higher quality of life. And then when I put that food in my body and I think about what it does, I think about the functionality of that food. For example, this morning, I love to eat breakfast sitting out in my front yard watching the birds. And I had my Greek yogurt, and I had my walnuts, and I had my berries on there. And as I'm eating that, I'm going, I'm thinking I'm making my bones stronger right now. I'm making my bones stronger with that calcium. I'm putting those walnuts into my body. Those have omega-3 fatty acids and some fiber. And there's fiber in those berries, and there's antioxidants in those berries. It's helping to repair my body. And I feel good. Does it make me miss a donut? No. And that's what I want you to start to think about, is what is that food that you're putting into your body? To have gratitude with it, to look at your surroundings and not to multitask. Avoid watching TV or being on the computer or reading or driving and eating at the same time. It causes overeating, and the result is we don't enjoy our food as much. Looking at past experiences, again, and helping them to guide us. Looking at the portion that we are served, or when we're serving ourselves, and really considering how much we need. Taking those small bites and really assessing. The next one says, do not deprive yourself totally of any food you really love, unless there's some major medical contradiction. As a diabetes educator, guess what? People who are diabetic can have some sugar. We just need to calculate that in. They can have desserts now and then. We just want to calculate it into their plans. If I told you that leaving this door, you can never ever have cheesecake, cookies, ice cream again, you may say, I'm not listening to a thing she says. She has set the bar higher than I can meet. We can have those things, but how do we want to eat those things? We want to enjoy every single little bite. It talks about putting your utensils down while you're eating. That slows us down. Using chopsticks, using smaller utensils, using your non-dominant hand. All of those things can help to slow us down. Practice food hopping. That is a way of being intentional with our food. So for example, let's say I have a plate and I have some salmon and some asparagus and some quinoa here. If I just ate all the salmon at the same time and then I went on to the quinoa and then finally the asparagus, my mind isn't registering to the extent that it could of everything that I'm eating. So if I say I'm going to have a bite of salmon and I taste it and I say, ooh, that's really good. That has a nice texture, a nice flavor. It's nice and warm. And then maybe next I go and I take a bite of quinoa and I'm like, that's different. It has a different texture, a little different taste. And my brain starts to fire. Oh, you're eating. And then I go and I have a piece of asparagus. Oh, that's crispy and it's different. And again, our mind realizes that we're eating and we enjoy it more, hopping around from one food to another. Let's see, what haven't we really talked about? The idea of practicing compassion. Sometimes, because we're all human, that we'll eat in front of the TV, we'll overeat, but to realize that next time we can do it differently. And just the idea that life is a journey, that mindfulness is a practice, it's a way of engaging in life and increasing our satisfaction and working towards having a healthier physical body, emotional body, and it all starts one bite at a time. I always say one bite, one step, one small change after another will get you to where you want to be. So I invite you all to practice mindfulness, and if I see you again, which I hope I will see all of you again, let me know what your experiences are on this. And I thank you for coming and participating in our community education class today. Thank you very much.
The Sun Health Center for Health and Wellbeing offers a variety of informative classes, one-on-one consultations, and valuable memberships. To find out more about our unique services, contact us today at 623-832-WELL. That's 623-832-9355, or visit us online at sunhealthwellbeing.org.